We're thinking about it. I think we're live.
Woohoo, we are live.
All right, my friend, let's go.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about eating more and craving less, because that's how we can boost our GLP. That's the bottom line is the bottom line is to eat the right kind of foods so you naturally feel full when you're supposed to feel full and not 10 hours after you should have felt full. That's really the whole goal of this thing. So we are going to be talking about these kind of foods. And so when you break down foods, it's really interesting because a lot of people, we've gone through trends as time has gone on. And some of these trends say, oh, eat high fiber foods or eat, lots of carbs or eat, low fat. But unfortunately, what all of them do is they start to focus on the manufactured foods and they forget that really food, I said this the other day, food is fuel. We need to focus on, well, what kind of nutrients are we going to get that we need so that our body can say, okay, I received what I need. So now we are full. We're done. We don't need to eat anymore. And that really is your goal. So I want you to think about something, especially when it comes to fiber. I think that one's an interesting one because fiber, everyone got all carried away in regards to the whole wheat cracker. Whole wheat cracker. Whole wheat cracker is made with flour. Flour breaks down and metabolizes as a sugar inside your body. But everybody will say, oh, no, 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 but that's whole wheat and it's organic and sprouted and, whatever else. They can add all sorts of stuff to it. But the bottom line is that it's manufactured. You're going to get a better source of fiber from broccoli that is in its natural state than something that has been manipulated.
Okay, wait, so hold on. You're jumping right into the lesson, and I want you to back up for 1 second.
Oh, good.
I know.
I got excited. I'm sorry.
You're always so good. She's got so much information and she knows so much, and she just starts jumping in and telling us all the things. Today, we're talking about these foods that are going to help you feel fuller longer without medications. So, I'm Kelly Coulter. I'm a transformational coach. I have teamed up with Adita Lang because she teaches nutrition. And I got my nutritional coach certification with her earlier this year. I have been following her way of eating and it's working for me. And I said, everybody who is considering getting on GLP-1 or tirzepatide,
something like that. I always say it
wrong. This information. So, Adita, will you tell us a little bit about who you are?
So I have been in the health and wellness industry for over 40 years. Started teaching group exercise barefoot on concrete with vinyl records. That was a long time ago. And I have gone through the music.
I remember the days.
Vinyl records.
Did you do the plow like Jane Fonda did in her videos?
Of course. I mean, come on. I went through vinyl records, cassettes, 8-track tapes, CDs, then streaming. Is that the last one then? I think that's it. That's where we're in now. We're in streaming. Anyway, so it's been a long time.
Video, yeah.
But the end of all of this, the reality is that I have been an educator in the health and wellness industry for a long time. I've written several books and I'm incredibly passionate, as you heard. That's why Kelly had to stop me because I got all carried away. I'm very passionate about teaching this stuff because people have made it so complicated. And that's the one thing that Kelly and I want to give to you guys is we want to show you how easy this is. It really shouldn't be complicated, but I do think you need to understand the backstory of your foods because then it makes it easier for you to make the right choices.
Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about this a lot lately about marketing and how marketing really complicates the issue because food is big business for businesses. And when food is marketed, they tend to put a label on it that's healthy or not healthy or get it out there in a certain way. And then we tend to onboard that and put that on ourselves. Like from a mindset point of view, we're like, I'm eating the healthy food. I've been told this is healthy by, we didn't realize it then, but it's a marketer. And I don't understand why I'm not making progress. And that's when people can tend to start to look toward medical interventions is when they're just throwing their hands up and just saying, I have nowhere else to go from here. Mm-hmm. And so I love what we're doing here because it's really getting outside of the marketing and the sexiness in getting to here are the real foods that will actually make a difference for you. And the other piece about that, I'm on a soapbox for a second, I apologize, but
Do it,
the
do it.
other do it. The other thing about that is that we as Americans eating the standard American diet, our whole system of satiety has been hijacked. And I heard somebody the other day talking about how they did a study with mice where they're giving mice like regular food and they eat this much. And then they give mice like French fries and different things from the standard American diet. And then they go back to giving the mice just regular food that they would normally eat and they don't want it anymore.
Mhm.
And that was the justification for GLP-1 is that it resets us into wanting real food. The problem, of course, is that there are a lot of side effects, and we can talk about that later. But medical intervention, in my opinion, is almost never the answer until it really is. But if there's an option to not do it that way, that's going to be the best because you're working with your body, not against it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And kind of, I need to finish the broccoli story because I know somebody's going to put a note there.
Okay, yeah, go back. Let's start that all over. We're in the lesson portion now.
Okay, have we moved on? Okay. So, but I want to say something though about what you just said, but I want to finish the broccoli. So
Okay.
the broccoli thing is that is fiber in its natural state. It has not been altered in any which way. So when your body eats broccoli, it's going to absorb the vitamins, it's going to use the fiber for whatever it needs to, and it's going to get rid of the rest. But when you eat a cracker, multi-grain, organic, sprouted, it has still been manufactured and processed. Your body still has the right to treat it as a sugar and store it as body fat and tell you that you're still hungry because there was no nutrients in that cracker. So your body's going to say, I'm still hungry because there's no nutrition. I need more nutrition. So that's really the very important fact about that. Now, when you were talking about, kind of the mice and all that kind of stuff, human nature is very incredible for whatever reason. And again, I wish I knew some of these people that created these habits, but somewhere long ago, we all decided that if we go to a banquet or a fundraiser or a party, we shouldn't eat all day. We want to go because it's free food. That's why. Unconsciously, in your brain, you're going, oh, it's free food. They're going to have a whole buffet. This is going to be incredible. I won't eat all day because I'm going to eat there. And then you go there and you eat some of the worst foods you could for your body, as opposed to going to something like that. Let's just say a buffet and going, what foods am I going to choose to nourish my body today? It's a whole different story there. And that's really what we have to do. And part of what we're trying to teach in this program is mindset. You got to get your mindset into that. This is my gasoline. This is the fuel. I'm a finely tuned engine. I want to purr when I start moving around. And so we got to choose the right foods that do that. And there are certain foods, kind of like increasing your good quality proteins and fats, that they take longer to digest. They make you fuller faster. Am I saying that to say go on a keto diet? Not necessarily. Because if you listened to me yesterday, you heard me say we all metabolize foods differently. So each of us have to figure out, well, what's the right combination of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats for me as an individual? My personal meal may be different than Kelly's.
Absolutely.
So we have to find what works for us, and then our body will purr like a finely tuned engine.
I have two thoughts on that. So the first is that I was one of those people that I was always kind of scared that I was going to be too hungry, and I would use that as an excuse to kind of, eat standard American diet things. Like back when I worked in an office, I would be like going through the drive-thru in the morning, like I'm so afraid I'm going to be hungry by lunch, and my system was just completely hijacked. I have not been hungry or feeling like starving like that ever since I started eating in the way that you teach. So, yeah, it speaks really highly to the nutrient density piece, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. You will eat less food when your food is nutrient dense, but you'll also be less hungry, and your blood sugar is no longer hijacked and doing that up and down thing that causes you to want to go get a bag of chips or a large French fries.
But part of this too. So when I teach about health, I talk about your food and nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep and relaxation, and happiness. And together they make a healthy individual. So if you're stressed out and you haven't slept, you're going to crave crackers, pasta, chips, dip, all that kind of stuff, because your body is stressed out. It feels like it needs comfort because we've been programmed in our brain that all those other foods are comfort. So we start craving them and we go for it. Or maybe we're tired. And if we're tired, we're going to crave the things that it's a false sense of energy, caffeine and sugar. But remember, it's not just sugar, it's sugar, flour, dairy, and alcohol. So I have actually met with clients before that their entire day is adding in a false sense of energy. Cup of coffee with cream and sugar, their energy drops. Bagel with cream cheese, energy goes back up. Then their energy drops. Ooh, sweet tea with a little bit of lemon in it. Okay, energy goes back up and it drops again. Oh, there's someone has a cookie. I want a cookie. And it just goes like this all day long. And unfortunately, what that does is it wreaks havoc in your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands are supposed to give you energy. But now your adrenal glands are fatigued and they're like, I'm not going to help. I'm out of here. They can just, all that stuff just can go and turn into body fat. And I don't care. That's what ends up happening.
You are describing exactly the cycle that I know me, and as a fitness professional who knew better, got on. Would you say that is the cycle that leads to type 2 diabetes?
Yes. And they do it unconsciously. And I think too, I have to say, I've had several clients with diabetes and friends and family members. And one of the things that really upsets me, to be very honest, is those doctors that say no sugar. They don't
talk
about the flour, dairy, and alcohol. So then these people are like, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is those that kind of use their blood sugar monitor to just, it's like a drug addict. They're like, oh, let me test myself. Oh, I'm fine. Okay, can I have a beer? I mean, no, your system is not digesting sugar correctly. So you want to make sure that you get your system. And then it goes back to your food is your fuel. It's not comfort, socialization, and all that other stuff.
Well, I think once you feel satisfied, you can get out of that idea that it's comfort and socialization, because I know that I don't have that urge anymore to like reward myself with an ice cream cone. Like, honestly, I feel like if I ate an ice cream cone, it would just make me more sick than anything, and then I would be sad. So not that I've had to give up ice cream. I actually make homemade ice cream that's really good, and my family loves it, and we eat a little bit of that together, but I don't need it anymore like I did.
Just remember, standard American diet means
sad. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the basis. I just want to hear the basis of the eating plan that we're going to be putting people through in the Fullness Fix.
So the eating plan, we all have, like I said, we all metabolize foods differently. Of course, we have our own, where are you from? Some people have more of a Latin diet. Some people more have an Asian diet, whatever those diets might be. And you want to be able to function within the culture that you're in too. So I think that's very important. So what we try to do is we're going to teach you how to analyze your food plan. And from there, I always call it's like correcting paper. It's like, you remember like the school teachers, they used to pull out the red pen and they would correct your paper. So that's the goal with your food plan, is you're going to learn how do you correct your paper. Does that mean you have to take out 20 million things? No, it just means maybe you've got to move some things around a little bit. Seriously, just move them around. Maybe they're in the wrong spot in your day, right? It's about moving some things around and then maybe adding in a few more things. I run into people, especially if they're more stress type A personality, that focus too heavily on the carbohydrates, way too heavily on the carbohydrates. So they definitely, and think about it, carbohydrates, I call it immediate energy, right? So they metabolize really quickly. So then you're hungry again. So you're eating more and more calories. So this is where you're going to be adding in more good quality proteins and good quality fats to slow down that energy from the carbs, so you feel satiated for a longer period of time and you feel satiated quicker than you would with your the other meal that you were eating before that.
And what Adita's describing is this genius system that she's come up with where you do a food log and then we color code it in a certain way. And it just completely exposes the holes and the overages. And then, like she said, you can just move things around. You can just make, once you know different, you can make better choices. But until you see it, then you can't always do that. So that's one big piece of it, and it's a really genius tool that Adita has come up with. The other piece is just keeping the diet based in protein, fat, and fiber. I don't want to speak for you, but I know as we researched, like, what are the things we need to suggest to people to eat in order to naturally raise the GLP-1, it's based in protein, fat, and fiber.
Absolutely, but it all goes into the quality and the type. That part of it is very important as well.
One of the things that Adita does really well is create recipes and menus. So I'm really excited to see what people do with those in this program.
Well, and listen, I'm a busy mom. I'm a single mom. And I have basically created a way, which is what I'm going to end up teaching you guys, of how you can recycle meals so they can turn into the next meal, because we're all busy. No one wants to spend 20 hours cooking. I still have I had an aunt and uncle. They used to love traveling overseas and they would go to cooking classes all the time. I still have a lot of their cooking books, and they were complicated. You'd spend hours in the kitchen making sure you top this right and you sauteed that correctly. No,
oh my gosh, that's the worst when it has like 20 ingredients. I hate it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I pride myself in, and it's because I am doing all the recipes myself. I am not copying and pasting recipes and just handing them to you. These are recipes that I make. I've altered them in a way so they're more nutritious and they're easy to make. And if it's something that you can freeze so that you have single serving meals for the next day or the next week, then I'm going to teach you to do that too. Or if it's something that you can make and then use part of that meal to make tomorrow's meal, I'm going to teach you that as well, because it's got to be easy.
I love it. So I want people to walk away today feeling like we have really given them something useful that they can give a try. And I'm kind of going back and forth between two things that I want to talk about, but I think I'm going to go with the thing that has saved me the most over the last, we're almost into June. So it's almost 5 months that I've been on this journey for myself. And that is grab and go snacks. I now travel with a lunchbox everywhere I go. I have a little black bag. It takes a little cooler insert, and I put a little bit of chia pudding in there. I make these protein balls out of some different things, some nuts and all these different things, and I carry those with me. And it keeps me from thinking I need a snack when I'm out. Remember, I told you, one of my things is I get anxiety around, like, am I going to get too hungry? And I think that comes from just being a fitness instructor and like teaching 16, 17, 20 classes a week. And you feel like, oh my gosh, am I going to get somewhere without any food? And I'm going to just get too hungry. So I snacked too much in my whole adult life. I snacked on the wrong things. And now I carry a lunchbox, and it's full of protein and fiber. And it's all these little things that I make at home and carry with me. So that's my big tip for you guys. Focus on protein, fat, and fiber, and carry a lunchbox with you. Got anything else you want to add to that?
No, and so I want you to think about, like, if your go-to snack was, for example, an apple by itself is not enough. You will get hungry very quickly. You need the protein and the fat.
Even though it's a complex carbohydrate.
Even though it's
going to break down slower.
Yeah, it's stiff. It's not slow enough. You need that slow from the protein and fat. That complex carbohydrate.
I think that's another thing that we don't understand from like our traditional education in nutrition. Because even before I met you and started going through your training, I would have thought an apple is a healthy snack, and it is a healthy snack. It's just not going to be enough to keep me from getting that anxiety. Like, I feel hungry. I don't know when I'm going to eat again. And now I'm anxious.
But if you take that apple and you dip it into raw almond butter, you got to make sure it's not roasted, but raw, that'll sustain you for like the rest of the afternoon.
Another thing I've learned about myself, just since we're talking also about kind of helping people customize their eating plan for what works for them, I am sensitive to almonds, and I've realized that just by going through this process and
Mhm.
understanding how my stomach feels when I eat them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
So
guys, I would
no, I
keep
was just going
going.
to say, so make sure that you don't include almonds in anything then, because if you remember, like we talked yesterday about your stomach is a blender. So if those almonds get mixed up with a salad, then everything's going to be stored as fat. So you're just right now, you're not eating almonds. Does it mean that it's for the rest of your life? Maybe not. You might be able to include almonds later on, but at this point, you're not digesting them well.
Hmm. Hmm. So true. All right, you guys. So I would love to hear from you if you're watching in the recording or if you're watching live. Love to hear about anything that you suspect you might be sensitive to in that way, or any customizations that you feel like you need to make in your diet. Love to hear that. Love to hear your thoughts, your questions. Adita and I have committed to keeping this a half an hour or less. So we're going to move on from here. Um, you guys have been hearing us talk about the Fullness Fix. If you look directly below me, there is a URL. Go there, take a look. We are doing our founding group. We're enrolling members into our founding group for that program right now. We will start our first live coaching next week. And with that, there's a huge discount involved because it is our founding group. So this is the lowest price that it's going to be. You're going to hear us talk about it more throughout the week as we go through these videos. But if you are interested in taking some weight off and you're interested in doing it without going on medication, this is for you. Also, if you are a pro, both of us have a lot of fitness pros that follow us. If you're a pro interested in learning what we're teaching so that you can pass it on to your clients, this is the best group for you to jump in on because it's going to be the lowest rate and you're really going to get some good stuff to take to your clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and the goal here is we want to teach you everything so that you truly understand the foods that you're eating and why you're eating them. It's not about calories. It's not about counting macros or any of that other stuff. It's really about understanding the foods and your own personal metabolism so that you make the right choices.
So good. All right. So tomorrow, tell us what we talk about.
Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about more than a meal lifestyle habits that will fire up your fullness because, you know, I've thrown in the piece about
This
stress.
is your passion.
It is. And so you got to put it all together. This has got to be a whole lifestyle plan. And that's going to help your fullness and it's going to help your overall health, to be very honest.
Awesome. All right. Well, y'all, we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, guys.
There we go.